Well, you're on deck of the aircraft carrier, and it's launch day. Tell me about the launch day and what do you have to do if you're the captain on an aircraft carrier?
Well, we had a tough flight officer, and he just wanted people to fly every day. And our carrier, when it hit 20 knots, the whole carrier shook. I mean, literally shook, because that was the maximum it could go. And some days, if there wasn't much wind blowing, they'd hit into the wind. There was no wind, and that 20 knots wasn't enough. And the airplanes would get shot off of there. They wouldn't have enough speed, and we'd see all the airplanes would go below the deck, and we'd stand and wait to see if our airplane made it back up.
Yeah.
But every now and then one would go in the water, and you could feel it bumping against the carrier all the way back off the end.
Well, that must have been awful hard on the pilots.
Well, it didn't do any good, but we had a couple of destroyer escorts. They had nothing on those little boats, and we were out to sea. But we had ice cream on our ship and everything, and those guys would get a couple of gallons of ice cream for every pilot they'd return.
Oh.
So they were vultures sitting back there waiting for these guys to go in the water so they could pick up a pilot. And then they would send the pilot over to the ship, and we would send them back ice cream.
Well, tell me, is it a fact that you're one of the original flying circus people? You help organize this?
Yeah, well, actually, Don, I was hired to be the airport manager and maintain the airplanes and everything. And in fact, I landed the first airplane on the field with a replica Eindecker, and I flew that in to the field. And the second airplane that landed there was, you remember Don Dillman?
Yes.
He was following me with the triplane. He landed behind me.
Okay, now you mentioned a Sopwith Camel, which is a very famous World War I airplane. And was this the real thing?
No, everything we had was replicas. We bought some planes from England that were to be used in the movie that went bottoms up. And we bought a B-2C, we bought a Rumpler, and we bought Sopwith Camel, and those planes came in crates. And I remember that was my job. I assembled them and test flew them. And,
well, that must have been pretty exciting.
Oh yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And then finally we got this replica Beachy Pusher plane, a replica 1911 with a real rotary engine in it. And they brought it in there, and then I remember Ken Hyde, the guy that founded the flying circus, he flew it around the field, and he asked if anybody else wanted to fly it. Nobody said anything, and I didn't say anything. And all these guys were airline captains and everything, you know, and I just kept my mouth shut. And finally Ken, he looked over and he says, "Charlie, would you like to fly it?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, "I wouldn't mind." And so I flew it around the field, and then I got the job to fly it in the show. But then one of the airline captains come up and says, "I didn't know you could fly airplanes." I said, "Well, damn, you hired me." I said, "Don't you know anything about the people that you hired?"